New at 5 tonight, a new state law is in effect to combat teenage crime.
All right, so across North Carolina, officers say serious crimes committed by teens are on the rise. And now that the state's new raise the age law allows for the charging of 16 and 17-year-olds who commit certain felonies as adults immediately. So what does it look like? Let's talk about it here. It would only impact Class A through E felonies, and 16 and 17-year-olds charged with an F through I felony offense and non-motor vehicle misdemeanor offenses would still be processed in juvenile delinquency court. I know that's a lot to bring up right now. So let's bring in Chief Legal Analyst Clive Rhodes to be able to explain to us when we talk about A through E felonies. Explain that to everybody.
This whole process started, let's look at it first. I had hands-on experience with working with a lot of state officials to push this through. 2017, it got pushed through. 2019, it became effective with raise the age. And that removed 16, 17-year-olds from felony types of court, took them to the juvenile process. When you talk about A through E, I should say, our felonies go from A through I being the lowest, A being the highest. Okay. A through E, those are ones typically where you can face some type of incarceration. We're talking about prison time. A being our highest. We're a state that has the death penalty. So you're talking about murders, capital crimes. B, you're talking about like second-degree murder, and then it goes throughout the process. Some gaming type of felony type of charges are in there as well. Okay. Those are, as you go lower down the rung of charges, when you get down to E, yeah, you're still talking about incarceration, but you're talking about significantly less time. Way at the top, if you're a violent person, someone that has violent crimes, you can do, 25 to 30 years in prison. However, if you're all the way down there, you're talking about 6 months. So the scale kind of goes up and down and left to right, depending on where you fall in that scale. But those A to E, that's typically where you're talking about doing some type of active time.
Okay. We oftentimes hear both sides of this. Some people think that the raise the age helps to combat youth crime. Others say that it just kind of exacerbates it. You're kind of sort of in that space a little bit. I know that you're not involved in defending necessarily the youth, but what do you see on the legal level that whether or not this has an impact on it?
I can understand and appreciate both sides. And so with the argument that the General Assembly, the state legislatures that pushed this through, specifically this new amended portion of the raise the age, because that's all they're doing. They're amending a portion of it that they think needed correction. That 16 to 17-year-olds that are automatically now not going to juvenile court, but they're getting bumped up to superior court and during the adult process. That's typically what would happen anyway. So you got to walk through the process of how they get there. Currently, under the new raise the age standard, before the December 1st implementation of it, a person that was 16 to 17 years old would come before what's called a juvenile petition hearing. They would submit a petition to the court. The court would determine if there's probable cause. If they determine those two factors, they would leave the juvenile setting, and I'm dumbing it down as much as I can, and then they would go up to superior court anyway. And that's where their case would be resolved. Typically, that process would take a long time. It would be a lengthy process. What the General Assembly is saying, well, let's go ahead and remove those folks from this process and get them up there now. We don't have to wait. We can go ahead and try to figure out how we can get this to be expedited. However, some of those cases should not be expedited up there. And so because you're just grabbing a whole bunch of folks and saying you're 16 to 17, you've committed this A or E felony, we're just throwing you up in superior court. What happens is you're having an increase for folks that are going through that process that probably shouldn't. And that's what the argument is on the other side. We have this juvenile process that's in place specifically for a reason so that we can weed out the ones that should go and the ones that should stay. Because the criminal adult process and the juvenile criminal process, they're two different things. They're not even like apples to apples. They're not apples to orange. They're probably apples to like any vegetable that you can name. That's how different they are. That's why when you mentioned in the beginning, yeah, I don't do juvenile work because it's an entirely different type of practice. It's like if I just started today to go practice property law. I don't know anything about it. I would be lost. I would be lost in the juvenile world because it is a unique system that is really not about punitive. It's more about rehabilitative. And so if you have a rehabilitative system, the punitive nature of the adult system is just different. And so it's really, really hard to say like how we can take this bunch. And that's why you have folks like the ACLU. That's why you have folks that have wrote letters to the governor when he vetoed it to say this is something that we should not do.
Just giving it a different perspective.
But I do understand and appreciate why the General Assembly wants to push forward.
Definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation.
It's not. And we talked about this earlier. North Carolina was last to be able to remove themselves from having juvenile offenders fall into that category. That's why raise the age was such a major push, and everyone across the country was saying, okay, North Carolina, what's taking you so long? But I think it was just the timing. During the time that we pushed that forward, now you have juvenile crime rising across the country, not just here. And so now you have a mixed bag, and that's the problem that we're dealing with.
Clive Rhodes, we appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. All right.